Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick-Taking Table. I'm Taylor. And this will be less of a kind of a goofy facade video, a little bit more earnest, because this is kind of overwhelmingly wild to me. I still don't believe this is true, but we are going to be covering my own game on the channel. What? That is wild to say. I usually do a lot of takes when I do intros, and this is the first take, and it's interesting, it's hitting. But welcome. This will be maybe a little bit more rambly, and I won't have kind of final thoughts on my own game because, spoiler alert, I like it, and there would be way too much bias, right? Like, I think that'd be a little bit silly. But the game that we're talking about, Short Zoot, is interesting. I don't have it. I haven't even touched it yet. I worked with the amazing Sai Beppu on this game, and she helped so much. And Jinpil, Trick Kuma, also helped so much on helping me not only with the art, which looks stupendous, but also do the manufacturing. So it was manufactured in Japan, and that is where all the games are sitting and waiting for me. So I am in Jack's watch, 24 hours, going to be jumping on a plane to Japan. So I'm recording this last minute, last hour, last day, technically, to go pick those games up and check them out and film a how to play with them. So it's a little bit surreal. I love making games, always have, and it's wild because this will be the first tangible game. I've had it in the backgrounds of my videos, kind of technically my first tangible game when I was way back in the day making silly roll and move games and laminating them in a hilarious way. I think this was for school, this one. It's essentially a football game where, hilariously, I already had the score of the game. Like, you can play this game where, you roll and move, you land and like lose a turn, and classic roll and move mechanics. But I personally love that I literally had the score already done for you. So we love that. And it was a tie. 18-18, those classic scores in an American football game, 18-18. I just love, that's like, what, 2 touchdowns and 2 safeties each team? I don't know, there's obviously other math, but anyway, I've always loved making games, and it is surreal to me that, in mere days, I will be holding something that went from, ideas and ruminations and thoughts and sparks to something I can shuffle, I can deal, I can play, I can gift to friends, I can have as something I look back in 10, 20, 30 years. One of the hardest things a lot is having so many ideas and like wanting to do so much, and then getting things through that final hoop of finalization is tough. So this is again, sorry for this. This is like the most rambly intro ever, and I hope you have either closed the video or you're on board with it, I guess. But it means a lot, and I'm super excited. So this video overall is going to be wild. I probably should have prefaced this. It's going to be how to play Short Zoot. That'll be upcoming. Then it's going to be a design diary on Short Zoot after. So instead of final thoughts. And then it's going to be Tokyo Game Market pre-coverage. And what's cool is, so I'm selling this game, Short Zoot, and another game, Of What's Left. Again, also art by the wonderful Sai, and help so much from Sai and Jinpil. That is going to be covered in a couple weeks. So it's going to be this, which is pre-coverage, how to play Short Zoot, all that. Then there's gonna be a week in the middle to give me some leniency because I'll be traveling around Japan. And then after that, it's going to be of what's left. So it's gonna be a video on how to play that, and then a design diary on that. And then going to have kind of a post Tokyo Game Market wrap up, discussion, thoughts. So they're gonna be weird 2 videos. I wanted to do something different and something super fun for my first 2 games, which was wild to say still. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll put timestamps so the rambliness can break for you. But also, thank you so much. None of this would have happened without people being excited, watching the channel, even being interested in like anything I would make. So thank you so much. It means the absolute world. Without further ado, we'll cut to Taylor in 4 or 5 days, I guess, teaching you how to play first game, Short Zoot. Thanks again. They're here. They're here. I got these sent separately from the other 4 each boxes. Those are going directly to the booth at Tokyo Game Market. As you can tell, I've been watching some Tom's unboxing, so I am a little bit prepared now to open this up. This is Short Zoot, which is fitting. Oh, I don't know. I'm like breaking the box here, so maybe I didn't watch enough. Oh my gosh. This is surreal. What? Dude. Should we say something? I'll open this one too. Oh my gosh. Woo. This is wow. We've moved to the table to do unboxing proper, but as you can see, we are definitely in downtown Tokyo. So let's first do Short Zoot. Oh, this is wild. So yeah, the graphic design by Sai is amazing. Love the Taylor X Sai with the player counts, the fact that they're bears. Oh my gosh. I always have a thing, and I kind of do that on What's Left as well, where I want each side to have something different. And depending on what you want showing, you know, you can, or which art you like the most, or whether you store your games like this or like this, that you can choose whichever side you want. And also, always at least one side that has the information, because I think it's really important to have that on your shelf and have players be like, okay, so yeah, Short Zoot, I have that many players, or I have that much time, I like that. So, oh wow, sorry, this is just taking it all in. You got balance winning tricks and short suiting in Bear Hollywoods. This was another part of it, was I wanted this, because this was a Japanese-English release, to have both Japanese and English for every single thing. So this mattered a lot to me, to have, you know, this and this is says that, and then down here is what this is. So it says, try a trick-taking game where players are bears taking advantage of their own personal drawbacks and trying to be short-suited at the same rate as they win tricks. And then the 2 little logos for, you know, if you're playing this, or if you're at Tokyo Game Market and you wanted to know that it had both English and Japanese rules, I think that's super helpful. Also, what's nice is the kind of art, like showing off the different types of art. So you have like the brown, the yellow, the green, and then the black. In the back you have blue, because all the different suits are different ones. And then also it shows off a little bit of the special cards. So you know this isn't just a deck of like a standard deck, right? There's some other interesting stuff in here. So, whew, there's the cover. Oh, I love that the red stripe goes all the way through. Oh, sorry. I am realizing this is more of an emotional roller coaster than an unboxing, but that's okay. Okay, so looking at the rules, beautiful. You've got the Japanese side, the English side. I like that it's not too big. Like this is really small. And then you have the deck of cards. Oh, that's so funny. That's so lovely. Oh, I don't know why I'm surprised by this. I was part of the decisions to do this. But yeah, you can see that the inner box lid has, additional art and kind of the symbols that Sai did. Also, this classic thing that is actually seen on all the cards as well. It says, a Taylor Sai production, and it says, this game was created by Taylor, and Sai, is your suit long? Oh, I absolutely adore that. So the cards are just wrapped in just a little sheet, which is nice. Let's pull that off. So we have the deck, original deck, and then we actually have special split cards, which I'll explain during gameplay, or I already explained, depending on how I edit this. And then you have the 4 player aids, and again, trying to make sure that everything is perfectly bilingual, which is great. And then also the 4 scoring, the unique scoring stuff. So they all have to have the same backs, so they can be double-sided in that way, with the additional scoring cards. So you would shuffle these, right, flip, and then you would have, oh, this is so cool to see. Oh my gosh, you would just have the scoring and then what you're trying to do here, and kind of some explanations of some stuff. And then also the star there, because that's the most simple one, because these other ones definitely get a little wild. And then I thought it would be really nice to have, a custom one. So see what people do. I think that's part of my favorite things is when there's like a blank thing or like a custom stuff, and see what people add. Especially because just going to Kickstarter, we can possibly add some really cool ones that do come up. So the 6 extra multi-suit are really cool. Again, I don't know if this is before or after. So now, main event, the deck. So the back of the deck, short Zoot suit. We love that. I know there's like some discussion on whether you want the game's name on the back or not. I always think that's an interesting kind of back and forth. I love both ways. I kind of love seeing both. And actually, when we go to Owl, there's a little bit of both. So this one is just the classic short suit, which I love. Over the suits, we wanted the ace through the king all to have like the growing, like the lengthening that you can really see here, where as the numbers get higher, the suit gets longer, which is so much fun. But in addition to the ranks mattering for the art, we also had the suits mattering. So like the different types of bears. So notice, brown bear or like polar bear, and then also like the different clothes and the different kind of like patterns. So we thought that was really important. And then also hearts being red, spades being black. And then since I think the game's so important for knowing suits, because you're, short suiting, I thought it'd be nice to do the thing that I've seen, a fair amount, but I always like it, is the different color suits. So clovers make sense to be green. And then usually I've seen diamonds be like yellow or blue. Went with blue here, and I think overall it looks really good. There was part of some things where it's like the classic, like, do you put a line or a dot? We went dot. I think it looks sleek. There's a lot of like, I'm trying to splay them and see how it looks. There's a lot, like, it's tall. The ranks are pretty tall. It's like they're like twice as tall and just as wide as the suits. Like vertical space is interesting and important, especially when we also wanted I'm saying we, a lot of this is me, but wanted the numbers on the bottoms as well, because I think, you know, it's super helpful for a lot of games that, especially in short Zoot, or a lot of other games where the number matters. And whew, that is the unboxing. Here we are in Japan, in my hotel room, doing the deck makeup for short Zoot. So it is a standard deck game. You have hearts, spades, clubs, and diamonds. And then also it goes from ace, so aces are low, up to king. And as you can see, the suits, they go from very long all the way to non-existent on this very shy bear. Here we have a game of short Zoot set up for 4 players. I'm traveling, so we have very interesting player pieces like my passport. Anyway, so depending on the player count, you're going to use different deck makeup. So everyone will get a player aid here, and also a denoter of their draw deck, which I'll explain in a little bit. But for the deck makeup, since we're playing at 4, it's going to be using 1 or ace, you know, through 13, ace through king, and 4 suits. And then if you're playing at different player counts, you might take some cards out, or at 2 players, you're going to have a couple cards cut out. But how it works is, so at 4 players, everyone's going to get dealt 13 cards. And now before players play trick taking, they are going to look at their hand, and they're going to choose 5 cards to put into their own personal draw deck. So players could short suit themselves or get rid of like low cards if they want. Maybe like this player here notices they have some hearts. Maybe they'll take their hearts out, and then they're going to actually take some low cards out. So maybe the ace 2 and the 3. So they're going to take these 5, and they're going to keep the other ones as their hand for the round. And all the players are doing this simultaneously. They are going to take the 5 cards that they took out, shuffle them. There's a variant where you don't shuffle them if you really want to big brain it, but we're just playing the intro game. So you're going to put those 5 cards underneath into your draw deck. So everyone's going to do that. So every player, we'll just do that randomly for the other players. Every player is going to have a draw deck. What the draw decks are is before a trick, any player can draw up from the draw deck and put it into their hand. So for example, right now, this player, you know, they're out of hearts, but let's say if they wanted to, they could draw up on the draw deck, and maybe they would have drawn one of their heart cards. So you can actually get back into suit if you want. But everyone will make that decision before a trick is led. And let's say just for the first trick, no one wants to draw. And so the lead player will play into the trick. The first lead player into the first trick is the player who last watched a short film. Let's say it is this pile of change down here. They're going to lead into the first trick. So they are just going to play this 5 of spades. So short Zoot is a must-follow game. So coming to the game market book here, they have to play a spade. They're going to play that 6. And then coming to the Metro Pass I have up there, they're going to play this jack. And then finally, the passport is going to play the queen. So highest of the lead suit is going to win the trick. So it's going to be the passport there. They're going to collect any in-suit cards into a trick in front of them. That. And again, now they're going to lead. The winner of the trick is going to lead to the next trick. So it's pretty basic trick taking. But again, anyone can draw back up. So let's say maybe the game market wanted to draw one of their cards. So they're going to take the top card from the draw pile and put it into their hand. You always can only draw 1 card right before a trick. So players can't, you know, just draw up their whole draw pile. So after everyone's good and no one else wants to draw, the passport player will lead into the next trick. So let's say they led this 8 of hearts. So coming down to the change pile, if you remember, they did not have an 8 of hearts. So they are going to short suit themselves. Maybe they will play the black, the spade 7. And so finishing out the trick up here. Oh, this player also didn't have, oh wow, they have a crazy hand. They also didn't have spade or hearts, so they're going to play that. It's still the highest of the lead suit that's going to win the trick, so the game market book is going to win this. But again, they only collect the on-suit cards as the trick. And what's interesting is the players who were short-suited are going to collect their cards face up. So then let's just go into another example here. It was led with the 4 of spades. This person's off suit again. Coming over here. This player is going to play that. And let's just say for this example, this player actually played the 10. So again, highest of the let's see wins, so it'd be this. They're going to collect the card, and so in the game, you're going to try to be matching the number of times you short suit with the number of tricks you take. So again, this player over here would get their offsuit card. So as you can see, players are going to have their offsuit cards kind of lined up, and then the tricks they took also kind of lined up. So let's fast forward to the end of the hand, and how the end of the hand happens is if before you go to play a trick, someone's out of cards. So maybe we played a few more tricks, and over here this player like never drew up, so they have no cards. So when someone goes to play a trick and someone doesn't have cards in their hand, that will end the round. What's interesting is you can always, before a trick, draw up. So this player who didn't have any cards, if they wanted to, they could draw that card before the trick was played, and then they'd have to play it. So you could essentially keep going if you want. You'd just be kind of top decking at that point, which is totally fine. Just to be 100% clear, how the flow works is, before any trick, anyone can draw a card into their hand. If after that drawing part, nobody has cards in their hand, then it ends. So, for example, if you get dealt 13 cards and you have to take 5 out, it could be an 8-trick hand, or if everyone draws and draws and draws and draws, it could be a 13-trick hand. So it's kind of player-defined hands. Jumping to the end of the round, as you can see here, Passport didn't want to keep drawing and they had no cards in their hand, so that ends the round early, even though the change and the game market over there have cards in their hand. So at the end of the round, how the scoring works is you're going to get a point per trick. So down here, this player's going to get 1, that player got 2, and that person got 3 up there, the Passport. Over there, that person only shorted 4 times. They didn't actually win any tricks, so they got 0 for tricks 1. Then you're going to see how many pairs of both trick and short that you won. You're going to get 3 points if you didn't match it perfectly, but 5 points if you matched it perfectly. So for example, over here, this player, they won, here, let's do this as maybe a better example. They won 2 pairs because they got a trick and a short, a trick and a short. They sadly didn't get another trick to perfectly match it. But so they got 2 pairs there, so that's 3 points and 3 points. So they got 1 for each trick, so that's 2 points, and then 6 for the pair, so they're at 8 right now. Over here, this player got 2 for winning 2 tricks, and then a pair for 3 more, so that's 5. Up here, though, since this player did it perfectly, instead of 3 points per pair, it's actually 5. So they got 15 for that perfect 3, plus they got the 3 for winning the trick, so they're actually at 18 points. Woo! And that's how to do the basic scoring, and you would just play rounds per player, shuffle, redeal. If you are doing the intermediate scoring, which I definitely recommend, you're going to take one of these intermediate advanced scoring cards, and you're going to shuffle and use 1 per round. And we'll just cover the very first one that it's recommended because, as you can see here, there's that 1 with the star, but there's a bunch of other ones. There's like a 2, 3, 4, as you go through. So this first one here that's recommended is all having to do with what do you short. So as you can see here, the number of unique suits that you short is going to give you points. Since this was out, I think that's what this player up here was trying to do. So you're going to count the number of unique suits that you short in your short pile, and you're going to get that many points. So down here, this person only shorted 1, so they're just going to get 1 point. As you can see up here, though, this player, they both kind of shorted, they shorted 3 different suits each. If it looked actually like this, where this person shorted, 2 spades and a diamond, they only shorted 2 unique suits, so they're just going to get 2 points. Whereas up here, the Passport player shorted 3 unique suits, so they would get 4. This player up here, they shorted each of the 4 suits, so they actually got 8 points. So these extra intermediate cards are for checking your short pile and seeing how you can get additional points. Looking at some other additional scoring cards, this one here, it says, the length of the longest run. So you're going to count up your longest run and you're going to get a ton of points if you short a really long run. And runs are agnostic of suit. So over here, as you can see, they have a 7 and a 6. That isn't too many points, but you could definitely get a lot of points. This one over here is a number of cards in your largest suit. So you're trying to short suit a ton of one color. This one is number of red suits. So you look at your hearts and your diamonds, and you're trying to get as many of those. This one is you compare your shorts pile sum over 0. So the person with the highest sum, you have to short something, is what the over 0 means. The person with the highest sum, so now you're shorting really high cards. And then there's a last one that you can make your own, because I thought it'd be fun to see what people post. So that's how to play with intermediate scoring, which I love because then it values what you are short suiting rather than just trying to short suit to make pairs. So that's mostly how to play the game. Again, you'll play rounds per player. Whoever has the most points at the end wins. There's also 2 variants, which I really love. The first variant is the multi-suited cards. So this is pretty interesting. I'm sure you can kind of guess what's happening here. But essentially, you are going to remove 6 of the cards in the deck, like the corresponding king, queen, jack of one of the suits showing. So, for example, you could remove the king, queen, jack of hearts and the king, king, jack of spades, and then put these 6 cards in. What effectively these do are they follow suit more because they have both suits on them. So, like if someone leads hearts, these 3 would be valid, or someone leads spades, these 3 would be valid. And then when these are led, you can follow suit on either, and then it's just a later card played. So these kind of spice up, make things a little bit harder to short suit in the game. And then finally is the Sean's Short Shorts variant, thanks to Sean Ross. But essentially players are going to skip making the personal deck at the start, and instead, at the start of every trick, they can either place a card face down onto their draw pile or take one off. So you're kind of building it as you go. Yeah, you build the decks during play. And it's also kind of works as a stack, if you're familiar with that concept, where you can add cards to the top and then remove cards from the top, but you can't just like, add a card and then get it on. I'm trying to explain stacks. You can't just like add a card and be like, oh, I want the second one, right? So there's kind of like a timing and some order to the drawing. And then also you kind of know what the order is because you're creating it as you go. Super interesting. And that's how to play Short, Zoot, Suit. Hey, Interrupting Taylor here. I wanted to say, I do mention this a little bit later on, but before we go into it, you can play this with a standard deck if you want to get the general feel of the game. There's definitely intermediate scoring cards that you're missing out on. But if you wanted a little bit of a taste on how this works, you can definitely play it with a standard deck. And guess what? On the free app, Trickster's Table, that you can get on your phone, the amazing Dan is, I can't believe it, making this. So this is actually going to come out soon on Trickster's Table. Get the app, check it out. It's amazing. It has Boaster Nothing. It has the wonderful Yokai at 2-player by Sean Ross. Just has amazing, amazing games on it. So if you did want to play, I know I'm going to just talk Designer Diary, but if that looked interesting to you, definitely check it out. That's my interruption. All right, catch you later. Alrighty, time to talk about Short Zoot Suit. In front of the whole box of 50 of them. It's absolutely wild to look at that many copies of one game and then also that many copies of my one game. Kind of, a lot. This is going to be a designer diary, but then also after I'm going to talk about the Tokyo Game Market booth preparations and all the stuff that went into that. I'm actually filming this 5 days before the booth, so it'll be a little bit of like setting it up, kind of experiences with that, talking and working with the wonderful Fukutaro, and just kind of the lead up to Tokyo Game Market and all that has been, including ordering all these games. So first though, design diary on Short Zoot Suit. Let me get comfortable here. I'm on this kind of lounging chair in the hotel room, but I'm sitting on my Othello candies. Anyway, Short Zoot Suit. So this idea actually started a long time ago. It was a Rook design contest, if you're familiar with the deck or the game Rook, where it's essentially just a deck of cards. I think there's points on the 5s. But so the Rook design contest was just make a trick-taking game using the deck Rook. And I have always been fascinated. I love short suiting. Like, love it. It's one of my favorite things to do in a trick-taking game. I think it's the reason I love trick-taking games so much. I love short suiting. It's from Hearts. I love Hearts. I love short suiting in Hearts. It's like the best feeling in the entire world. And I hadn't seen a trick-taking game. I guess they all use shooting. It's just like a part of it. But I hadn't really seen one lean too heavily into short suiting. So I love that concept. Or being void. I should talk about this. Being offsuit. These are all the different phrases for it. But I love that. I love that feeling. So I thought, hey, let's make a game about short suiting. So the game was originally called Molt, because Rook and like birds shedding, molting. So it was originally called Molt, and it was pretty similar. You got a hand of cards. You chose which ones went down, and then you played trick taking, and you got points for short suiting. I don't know exactly what the point system was, but essentially that's what it was. The other thing was, if you capture the 5s, you got 5 points, because it was, the 5s were on the 5s. And I think it was 1 through 9 or something, so I didn't have to worry about the 10s. But that was generally the game. I entered it for the contest. I don't quite remember what happened to it, but the idea was always in my head. So I was thinking about it, and the original idea for the draw deck came from Hollywood Sensation. So in Hollywood Sensation, there is this idea of, you have a draw deck, and you can like get out of suit in interesting ways. But in that game, I felt it was like a little bit too short, and like the workings around that game didn't kind of take advantage, or wasn't as interesting for the short suiting in the game. So I felt like, oh, that'd be cool to see in a game that was more about short suiting than Hollywood Sensation was. Just because you can short suit with that deck is really cool. In Hollywood Sensation, only one person did it as well. So I thought, oh, let's let everyone do it, kind of. So the other influence for the game was trick taking in black and white, otherwise known as bears. In that game, cards have black on top and white on the other, and they're kind of mirrors of each other. And the whole idea of that game is you want to win as many black tricks as white tricks. So there's kind of a balance there. I felt like in that game the scoring was a little bit brutal. So I have a similar scoring in this one, and that was a little bit of the influence on that. So using Hollywood Sensation, which is like a game about movies in the 40s, and then using trick taking in black and white, which is about bears, I added them, and that's what the theme is for this. So this is kind of 40s, movies, bears, and then in addition, since they're short suiting, I thought it'd be different suits, and shorter suits than regular. And then I'll talk about this in my Of What's Left video. I love humor in art. I love when the rank on the card is reflected in the art. I think it's so funny to me. I think this is from games like David and Goliath, where like Goliath is growing as the rank gets higher, or things like that. I love that in card games. I think it's so fun and so silly. And so I thought, okay, if I'm gonna in art have short suits, I'll have really long suits. And a little bit about me. I don't know if I'll have the picture or find it. I wore a Zoot suit to prom. Yeah, it's a little bit about me. So Zoot suits, we studied them in high school, and I always thought they were interesting. My mom's Italian, and Italian people wore Zoot suits. Japanese people wore Zoot suits. A lot of different people wore Zoot suits. So I thought it'd be really fun to have Zoot suits in a game, because they have really long suits, and like being long in suit is like a trick taking. There's all these like puns and jokes, like it's like such a circular referential game. But anyway, because it's like being short, and also like it's about suits, trick taking suits, and being short suited. Anyway, so the highest number were going to be Zoot suits, like really long Zoot suits. Like I think this is the 13. And actually, I can pull out cards and talk about that. Wow, good job, Taylor. I thought it'd be fun to have, like higher cards be really long suits. And then, as you get lower, the suits are, normal. And then you get, little ankles. You're showing a little ankle there, all the way to the classic little shy bear where the tie is the only thing covering. Look at, he's a little embarrassed, a little coy. But so I had that idea, and I loved that idea. Ruminating in my mind, I was like, okay, so bears, Hollywood, suits, there's gonna be 4 suits, and that whole idea was in my head. And so, in addition to that, I need some water, one sec. In addition to that, I wanted to design for the standard deck. So, I'll talk about this in the OWL video that I actually just filmed. I love designing for standard deck. If someone can't afford or get access to or find in any way, or just any reason they don't have the means to get this game or Of What's Left or whatever, or any game I design, I love the idea that they could get a standard deck anywhere in the world and mock it up. or even me. Like if I don't bring this game, I've been in situations like camping, and I love that idea that I could play any of my games just out in the world. I actually was at a camping trip once, and it was after I got the art back for this, and I was showing some people, and they're like, "We want to play," and we were able to play with a deck of cards. It was really heartwarming. So I love that idea of designing for the standard deck, just using suits that were all standard deck. I think it's also because I'm a little bit nervous people won't like this game, and even if you don't like it, you'll at least have a cool deck of cards with the silliest little bears you ever done seen. Other than that, there's actually kind of a secret project I'm working on that I'll explain later, where it's like 4 standard deck games, and then you use them all to play a meta game using standard deck games. It's wild. We'll get into that later. But anyway, short suit. So that's where the design came from. I love the idea of bears we're trying to match. I love short suiting, and I love the deck from Hollywood Sensation. So I had those all together in my head, and then I was like, okay, so instead of black and white balancing, you want to balance something with short suiting. And I was like, well, how about you balance like tricks with short suiting? So that was working really great. I think there were some hiccups where someone would just like win a bunch of tricks and that would feel bad, or they would short a bunch and that would feel bad. So then I added some scoring to where if you win a trick, it's worth a point. And then also the intermediate scoring to where if you short suit certain things, like this one is like unique suits, or maybe like the length of your longest run in your shorts, that would benefit if someone shorted too much. So I kind of like the idea of using intermediate scoring to balance different ways to win in the game. And it's fun to see people win by short suiting a lot, win by winning a lot, and then win by the other scoring, which is you get 3 points for every pair, and if you perfectly do it, you get 5 points for every pair, which is huge. Oh man. So I love in the game that people, depending on the playstyle, will kind of move a certain route, and because you have different ways to win, it'll change what you put into your draw deck. Do you put all of one suit so you can short suit early? Do you put all your low cards so you can just win a bunch of tricks and then not draw at all and just hope to like mess over other people's plans and just win a bunch of tricks? Or do you do a mix where you put like some high in there and some high of a certain suit, so you know that when you draw, you have a guaranteed win, and then you can get control later? It's a kind of a wild game, especially when you use like the Sean Ross variant, where Sean's short shorts. You build the deck as you go, which I personally really love. I love kind of that stack mentality, very computer sciencey, where you're choosing what goes and then you know it's there and then you pull back up. That's, I think, for people who, because I've shown this game to people and they're like, well, I don't like the fact that like the 5 cards that I pick, I shuffle and it's random. I think if you do want the control, either you can play where it isn't random, you choose the order. That takes a little bit longer, it's a little AP prone. But also the Sean variant is really nice for people like that. Back to the design. I was playing without the 1 point per trick, and I was also playing to where if you got any match, it was just 3 points. There wasn't like a perfect thing. And I found that some players, like if they got 2 matches, and like if they're off one or the other way, they were just like, okay, like they weren't really caring. And I never like in a game where like a player could get to a point where they don't care partway through the hand or like near the end or something. Like that's not fun. So then I wanted that like perfect, like the bonus for getting like a perfect set of pairs. Also, like the more pairs you get, the more points you get. So people are a little greedy, like, oh, let me get 4 tricks and then try to short 4 times. So that's really fun. Also, for the advanced scoring, the very first one that you use is a number of unique suits. And what I think is really fun is you get 8 points if you get all 4 suits. And what's cool about that is the only way you can do that is by utilizing that deck that you build at the start. So it's really cool how you can use being short early to short out of suits and then draw back up into the other suits that you had, and then using those to short to try to get all 4. So that's really fun. I think part of the hard part about this design was just trying to play it a lot and really see what numbers and scoring fit well. And I still kind of go back and forth on this, but I never know whether to value shorting more, because it is a game about shorting. Like maybe I could boost those points more. I think part of the fun, like this is a solid game. I love this game. But part of the fun is like just doing this smaller print run, seeing what people think, and if this comes out in the future, or when, hopefully, this comes out in the future, like adding other things that players come up to me and talk to me about, or like I have already played a variant where there's Trump, and I think it'd be fun to include a Trump variant in the future. Or the fact that the 6 intermediate scoring is blank, to see what people come up with is really, really cool. I love that idea. So I am super excited to have people play it, especially with the standard deck. Like the rules are out there, you can just play this game. Same with Of What's Left. I really want to just see people playing it, see what they think. I just love that idea of like very open, free design. And one of the cool things is, so I explained this in the Of What's Left video. I keep pointing over there like it's right there, like I see it. Of What's Left is right there, I see it, but you don't, so that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I wanted to work with Sai on this one. So Sai has been, for a while, this wonderful aspect of the trick-taking, climbing, shedding world. I, on this channel, cover a lot of Japanese games, just because there are a lot of trick-taking, climbing, shedding games coming out of Japan, and Sai has worked on a lot of them, and it's been great. When I finally met her at Tokyo Game Market, and then later at the I think it was T8, at the trick-taking convention in Cincinnati, where we played games together, I worked up the courage, because I always wanted to work with her, to ask if she wanted to do art for this and Of What's Left. And she said yes, which was so amazing. And going back and forth was so much fun. So I first explained how crazy the game was and all the puns, which I think talking to her and Jinpil, her husband, about the weirdness of all the jokes and like the circular references and stuff in the game. I think it landed, which was great, because I explained it was supposed to be like a Hollywood thing. She mentioned or recommended the idea that like the cards look like old school movie posters, which is so cool. And like I'll put on the left here, or the right, the old kind of movie posters that she was working off of. But I love that it has like, the person in frame, the title of the movie, Zoot, and then also on the bottom those kind of like taglines, right? Like a Taylor and Sai production on the bottom. It's so cool, and the fact that like the suits are behind them is like a really nice touch. And she also did this effect where the bears are like if you look really closely on the bear fur, it has this kind of like fur effect, which looks wonderful, and it looks all kind of vintage, and it feels like an old vintage kind of, is it sepia tone artwork. So I just love that. She absolutely killed it. The other thing was she did the graphic design too. So I love the fact that the graphic design for the player aid also is the draw deck, which is super, super, super cute. And doing the rules and the translation, and even these with the little, what's that called? Film clapper things? And the film reel. Like, film, bears, zoot suits, like it's an insane theme, but it comes through like so well from her art. And obviously I'm biased. I think if you've gotten to this point in this video, you know I'm very biased. But I'm just blown away at how well Sai will like take a theme and just integrate it throughout the art, the graphic design, and even, I think this is part of my favorite part, the box art, and the fact that they're like in, what's it called, inside the box, there's some art, or the fact that like the ribbon goes across on the art, and like all the different suits represented. I just, it's so cute. I think one of my favorite things was when we were working, because I have this thing where I really want on the sides of boxes to have the player count and the time, because I think it's so useful when it's up on the shelf to have that player count time. So this is what it originally looked like, which is great because we left that just in case someone doesn't want it. But then on the flip side, I was like, hey, could you put the player count in the time? And she put little bears as like the players. It's so cute. Like the attention to detail just blows me away. Sai did such an amazing job on this. I am gushing at how thankful I am to work with such an amazing artist. And again, special thanks to Jinpil for doing the translation. This came out so well as well. I was nervous that, because I mean, it's not too many rules, but like there's a lot of rules, and always try to have like a trick taking, like what's a trick taking section, just in case you don't know trick taking. But this came out nicely on both sides, thanks to Jim Pell, who also did the translation for the intermediate scoring cards and the player aids. Oh, just so wonderful. And then finally, I did want to say, like, thank you so much to Sean Ross and DJ Kennel and Shreesh Bhatt and Ty James. It was interesting because they all had such an impact on the design throughout. So it was showing it to DJ, and who was like, hey, you should have different scoring cards, because I only had the one. And I was like, that's so smart. It blew me away. Sean, who's like, hey, when you deal cards, players have to pick the 5 and put it in. Like, everyone's doing that simultaneously, so it's not like slowing anyone down. But it'd be cool to like do that as you play, so that you get into the trick taking faster. And I'm like, I love that. So then that's the Sean variant. And then also Shreesh, who did such an amazing job helping with the scoring, like fine-tuning the scoring, like 3s and 5s and like perfects, and you know, the whole kind of flow of like when to draw was tough. It almost felt like I was like playing Magic. It was like, okay, before a trick you can draw, but then after a trick, if you have no cards, that ends the round. Like, it was very like not procedural. Like, I'm trying to make it, it's not sounding like it is actually Magic, but Shreesh was so helpful in that. And then Ty, who was just an amazing help through both of What's Left and Short Zoot Suit, just bending his ear. I think what's amazing is I'm surrounded by people who know trick taking for sure. I think a lot of people in my circles are, just because I game with them so much, are well versed in trick taking. But Ty has such an incredible feel for it. Like, does this feel fun? Is this interesting? Are you feeling like you're having a good time while playing trick taking, while playing this game? And Ty was so great. So part of the design process is being surrounded by people who know and can give honest feedback. And I think this game, if I was surrounded by people who were just like, sounds good, would be much, much, much worse. So thank you so much. Oh, so that is Short Zoot Suit. It's wild to be holding this from thought to cardboard to paper. It's kind of surreal. So please, if you are interested, definitely check this out. Again, a million % bias. After this, we are going to do the first part of the Tokyo Game Market coverage. So thanks so much for watching. Y'all are the best. I hope you have a good time. Bye. Hey there. Ready to talk Tokyo Game Market and booth preparations and all the wackiness that has ensued. I have put on this hat to at least make it look like I have changed my wardrobe, even though I haven't. And it's nighttime outside. So at least that's a little different. Anyway, Tokyo Game Market booth. So the idea to have a booth at Tokyo Game Market was a wild one. I hadn't seen anyone do it before. Like, I've known Ayako, Big Cat Games had one with some Daniel Newman games being sold at the booth, but I don't know of, like, and I know like Chris Ray went to Tokyo Game Market, I think in spring of this year, and showed off Magic Trick. And I think I've heard of, you know, some designers going to Tokyo Game Market and showing off their games in some capacity. But I hadn't really heard of many having a booth there. And I thought it'd be a really cool idea, a really fun idea, kind of a crazy idea. I didn't even know if it was like allowed. I think even the rules for foreign booths have changed starting next Tokyo Game Market. So I really don't know a lot of the rules on it all. But I thought it'd be a really fun, interesting idea, especially because I have so much love for Tokyo Game Market and the Japanese game design circles and the whole community in general. I just love it. So I wanted to try it. And so I asked around, I asked a few people if this was a good idea. And I was met with, yeah, I guess you should totally try. And so I got up the courage and I asked Fukutaro, the amazing Fukutaro, if I was able to, if he would want to do a joint booth. Kind of a crazy idea. And it worked out. He's going to sell some of his other ones, like Tooth and Claw, but also his new one, Capsule Builders, which I am so excited to play and try. We actually have, we're going to have a game meet, me, him, and James, which is going to be so much fun, after the con. So it's going to be a nice kind of wind down after such a crazy weekend that has honestly been built up for like, I had this idea, well, okay, going way far back. I went to Tokyo Game Market 2019, way far back, relatively way far back. Before the pandemic is way far back, I feel like. But so I had this idea, 2019, when I was walking around Tokyo Game Market, like how awesome would it be to have a booth here? And it was more of like a this will never happen thought. So it's always been an inkling of a this will never happen. But since designing a game, getting to know more people at Tokyo Game Market and in the scene, it slowly became a possibility. And I kind of made it a huge goal, a huge life goal of mine to try. And this year, kind of everything just lined up. I know I mentioned earlier, I talked to Sai about doing the art, which I thought would be so great to have Sai, who's such a prolific artist, who does so many games at Tokyo Game Market. I remember last time I was here, I think last year, I was walking through and just because you can recognize her art. It's so unique, stands out from the crowd. It's so gorgeous. But I just saw it on so many different games and I was like, wow, she is not only prolific, but just a huge member of this Japanese game design scene. So I thought it'd be amazing to not only do art with her, but then also be at a booth with Fukutaro. Like I said in the last video, was a huge inspiration for me for getting into the Japanese scene, doing trick taking. And so when I asked and he said yes, I couldn't be happier. It was insane. It was such a crazy idea. And the fact that he said yes blew me away. And I love the name that he came up with, Owl Club with Taylor. Not only because, I know this is about I know this is a game about Chorotutsu, but owl of what's left, owl, and Fukutaro's icon is an owl, and so it felt like unplanned, but such serendipity to have it be called Owl Club. I love that. And so after he said yes, started moving on to like what that looks like, right? Like how do we share a booth? What size booth do we want? What types of games are we going to sell? Like how many am I going to sell? I don't really have many more besides these two, so that was an easy thing for me to decide on. And then it was like how much of the table do we want to split, and like how do we want the posters to work. In fact, on the I kind of have a picture of it that I'll probably put, but I've been cutting I was cutting out pictures of the games that I printed on different pieces of paper that I'm going to talk about the best puzzle in the world. I'm going to make, this goes over here, I'm going to make a puzzle as my poster. And then Fukutaro has just been so wonderful. Has done such a great job of helping me know what else I'll need for the booth. So in terms of like a poster, or even just like change, like how many coins I need for going back and forth, because I don't know if you know this, but Tokyo Game Market is very cash focused, and so it's not a lot of like Venmos or PayPals or whatever. It's a lot of, here is yen, and do you have change? I guess that's another thing. Oh man, I'm just like rambling. That's another thing, is like pricing these so that not only they fit in the kind of relative price of what another title like this would be, like a game with just cards in it, but also to have it to where like the cost isn't in like 100 yen quantity, so I don't have to worry about change as much. There's just a lot of these things, these like thoughtful things that Fukutaro was amazing with. Like he is going to have 2 of those trays. So in Japan, when you pay, there's like a tray that you put money in, and the person that you're paying, or the store that you're paying, will take that, they'll put the change, they'll put the change back in the thing. There's kind of like a intermediary kind of tray that you'll exchange currency with. Sometimes you can just like hand it back and forth. I've done that at stores, maybe incorrectly, but yeah. So he's like, I'll bring those. I'll bring the change, so you don't even have to worry about it. I'll do the poster thing. He's also going to print off. So I haven't even talked about reservation forms. So at Tokyo Game Market, a lot of booths will have online Google Forms for having people put in their email, their name, and then putting how many quantities of each game that's going to be at the booth. And so you can kind of get a sense for how many you're going to sell, in a way, kind of like the demand, and also like saving it for people who might not be able to get there until, a certain time, or get there later, or people who don't want to rush around. It's kind of like the idea of those movie theaters where you buy a seat specifically ahead of time, as opposed to like those first comes first serve movie theaters. So I didn't even have a reservation. Whoa, just hit me in the face. I didn't have a reservation, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna do one, because I just didn't really know how much detail or like the exact makeup I wanted to do. I'd seen a lot of reservation forms before, like having gone to Tokyo Game Market, but I've also seen booths just not do them, and they seem to have gotten by. But Fukutara was like, you should probably have one. And in retrospect, I definitely should have had one, because I was way later than a lot of people, and I've noticed how super useful it is, because you can gauge not only the demand, but also like the flow and how many people are going to be there, and also like if they want multiple copies, you can have that ready, and there's less of a barrier. Because, spoiler alert, I don't speak a lot of Japanese, and anything to smooth the transaction between someone who just wants a copy of my game and how many copies they want lowers the amount of questions that I'm going to butcher in Japanese to them. So the reservation form was huge, and it was really, really helpful. Even small things where, like in the reservation form, there's a setting to where after someone reserves, a copy or two or whatever, they'll get an email back, usually, if you're smart enough and you tick that box. But I sent over my form, I put it live, and then I sent it over to Fukutara, and he's like, hey, you're gonna want to check the setting that tells people, email confirmation that they're getting your game. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh man, I try to be prepared, but there's some times where I do feel a little all over the place, but it is so amazing to have wonderful people to help out, like Fukutara, like James Nathan, and just other kind of logistical things that I've noticed was I didn't know how many copies to print. It's like an impossible thing to gauge, right? So it was a really nerve-wracking thing to pick the quantity of, actually. Especially because there's, that classic thing of the more copies you get, the cheaper it is per copy, so you can lower the price, which is what I, want so badly, to lower the price. But it's also the thing where if you get too many, I'm in Japan with crates, say I sell 20 of them, 50 of them, or whatever, I have 200 game boxes, which is terrifying. I cut it off. I started rambling. All that to say, it was nervous to pick how many quantities, and it still is nervous because it hasn't happened yet. You might be watching this and it has already happened, or maybe you're watching this and it's about to happen, and please, I hope it goes well. But all that to say, the quantities, picking the quantities was always was a little bit stressful. So see how that goes. I guess in a couple weeks when I do the post TGM wrap up, you'll see how it goes. But yeah, overall, Fukutara has been an absolute beacon, a lighthouse. When I jumped into a ship without a sail or an oar, or without a ship, I was swimming in the ocean, really, drowning in the ocean, treading water. And Fukutara has been just an absolute amazing help. So overall, I think it's going to be an absolute blast. I cannot wait to be at the booth with him. Yes, I'm nervous because I don't know much Japanese. I don't know how many to print. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to get there obviously as early as possible, and I know Fukutar is going to be an absolute amazing booth partner, and couldn't wish for anyone better. So that is a huge ramble about the preamble to Tokyo Game Market. I hope it goes well, and if you're there, I know some people have reached out and said they are going to be there. Stop by. I would love to chat, maybe settle my nerves. Hopefully they'll be less nervy when I get there. But yes, say hi. I'd love to see you. And thanks so much for watching. Next week we're going to do Fishermen and Angels and Devils. This is going to be a little bit of no voices while I am recuperating from TGM. And then a week after, it's going to be Of What's Left and Tokyo Game Market Part 2, where I'm going to be in a similar position as this, but after weathering those days on the booth, a day on the booth. I'm only there on Saturday. But anyway, you'll hear how it went. So cliffhanger. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. And if you made it to the end of this, you're a saint, because this was rambly. Okay, bye.